everyone, I am Balatami, a Doctor of Occupational Therapy student, and in this fourth video, I'm going to provide you with some ideas and recommendations of ways that you can provide your child with some sensory input. Again, most of my experience has been in the US. However, since this is in collaboration with the Ike Foundation for Autism, I'm going to provide you with recommendations that can be easily accessible in Nigeria or even made in Nigeria as well. And since this is just a broad overview of just some recommendations that can be used, please speak with a registered occupational therapist if you would like specific recommendations on your child's sensory needs or input. And I would like to say that my very good friend Miri provided me with a few things that I can show you all. They are things that she uses on a daily basis, and she thought that it would be beneficial for you all to see as well. So thank you, Mariana. So without further ado, let's get started. So with the different hyper and hyposensitivities, the idea with sensory integration is if you have a child that is hyposensitive to certain aspects, if you provide them with sensory input consistently throughout the day or throughout the week, it will allow them to get their sensory needs met, which will in turn decrease their disruptive behavior because their needs are being met. On the other side of things, children that are hypersensitive, if you are providing them with consistent sensory input, they are receiving more exposure to the things that might be too sensitive to them. So with that more exposure, they will start to get used to that sensory input, which will in turn decrease their disruptive behaviors because it's not too stimulating for them, it's not too much for them. So sensory integration is beneficial for everyone. I use it for kids who don't have autism. I use it on myself. Sensory integration is great. With vision, I recommend trying to explore the different types of lighting that might be beneficial to your child. Some of the children may respond better to lights that are dimmed, while others like bright lights. If you just have fluorescent lights, you can do something as simple as take a sheer cloth, like a purple or blue cloth, and cover that and see if your child responds better to that light. Just make sure that it's not a fire hazard. When you're trying to get a child to focus, you'd want to put them in a room where there are as minimal distractions as possible. So teachers are known for making beautiful rooms with lots of signs and lots of lovely colors to look at. With a child with autism, that might be way too stimulating for them. So it's finding that balance. If you have more than one child, or if you're a teacher and you have that classroom, finding a balance of maybe a corner or a section that does not have a lot of papers on the wall and putting the child there. And for children that are hyposensitive and you want them to focus on a task at hand, you can try and giving them bright colored paper and seeing if they'll be able to focus on that paper because of that sensory input. And also, if you are trying to teach a child how to read, you can also highlight the lines that you want them to read. So there's some color or some type of stimulus there to help them focus on that task. Also providing them with any light up toys. So any of those toys that you see where you press a button and it'll start flashing, or different colors, or any of that visual input, you can give to the child when they're in between tasks or as a part of their break as well, in order for them to receive that sensory input. And I do recommend you to limit screen time for your child. So when I say screen time, I mean TV, computers, tablets. There's a lot of visual things happening in a TV show, but it's also behind a bright, glaring screen. There's a lot of research that is showing now that too much screen time can increase aggression in children. They might not be able to sleep well, and it could also cause them more stress. With tactile or touch, you essentially just want the child to explore different textures any way that they can. So the best way to do this is to provide them with tactile play, playing with different types of textures, but having them make Play-Doh. You can also have things that are a little bit more passive. So I've had children have bins of uncooked rice, so dried rice, dried beans, and also dried macaroni. So 3 separate bins where they have that dry food and they can just stick their hands in it. So each of those bins feel differently, but they're also providing that sensory input as well. Just also, you want to be near your child because you don't want them to take any of those objects and put them in their mouth. It's also good to have something that the child likes to feel, so whether it's soft or hard or squishy or whatever it is, and have it with you if the child's gonna go out. So it's something that they can hold on to when they're out and about. There are different things that you can make. So this one was bought, but it's a stuffed animal. And with this one, it's kind of like a muffler, so a child can put their hands inside. It's basically allowing them to stay busy, but they're getting some of that input. So there's something soft, there's something squishy that is hard, and there are different types of textures involved as well. So this is something that you can easily make if there are just a few small toys. You can take some soft fabric and put it in there, and you just allow them to play with and explore what's going on in this. And if there is a child that does not like to wear clothes, you can try different types of clothing. So this can be having looser clothing if the child doesn't like anything tight against their skin. Also in Nigeria, there's Ankara, so the waxed cotton, the waxed print. Brand new Ankara can be very stiff, and a child might not like that feeling compared to Ankara that has been washed many times before. It gets a lot softer, so a child might respond better to that. And for the other people that are watching, it's similar to like if you have a brand new shirt that has a lot of starch on it, that stiff feeling, it might not be comfortable for them, versus any cotton t-shirt that you just throw in the washing machine many times. It gets softer, it breaks down a little bit. For the parents that tend to look a lot of things up about different interventions or treatments that they can do with their child, one that pops up very frequently, it's called the Wilbarger protocol. It's used with this brush. This brush is actually a surgical scrub brush, and they also use this type of brush to take the silk off of corn and also to clean mushrooms as well. It will help a child who is hypersensitive to touch. It allows them to desensitize that feeling, and it also helps with proprioception, because with this brush you provide very deep pressure. So you're still adding pressure to the body, and then there's a second component to this protocol that provides proprioceptive input as well. It doesn't hurt at all, it doesn't scratch at all. So again, there's a specific protocol, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention because usually when people look up autism treatment or sensory integration, this is one of the big ones that pops up. So it is with this brush. With auditory, so sound, anytime that a child is working on something or focusing on something, I do recommend that it is as quiet as possible, and that's with any child. You don't want anything that is too loud or too distracting for them. If a child is hypersensitive, you can always have noise-canceling headphones that you can provide to them. A cheaper alternative can be earplugs. So it's something small, and it's something that, again, you can keep in your pocket, you can keep in your purse, and you can bring them out whenever you need to. If the child is going somewhere where it's going to be loud, like if you take them to the market or somewhere else, preparing the child, so letting the child know that there is going to be something loud, is always helpful. So letting the child get into that transition, having the headphones or earplugs ready for them, so they can put them on before they get to the loud environment. There are a few listening programs that are made for children who are hyper or hyposensitive to sound, auditory. They also help allow the child to focus. There's one that I know of specifically, which is called Therapeutic listening. I can post the link below. I do know that they charge per song. However, you can also try and just look up any focusing or calming music playlists that might be on YouTube or Spotify or wherever else. Classical music, I know, is a big one that people use, but also if you're trying to introduce the child to different sounds and being able to tolerate different sounds, any type of easy listening music can be useful to them. So nothing too loud, but introducing them to things that they might hear. Even if a child is hyposensitive, you don't want things to be loud for them all of the time. So even playing something low or something that's a typical level for us, and trying to see if they can, oh, do you hear this drum, or do you hear this noise? Trying to allow them to start to become, I guess, a little bit more sensitive to the sound. It shouldn't be the child's norm to have things loud all of the time anyway. Right, so this is the end of this video, and in the next video I'll talk about the rest of the senses. Thank you all.